In 2024, a woman in Colorado was convicted of murder, except there was no evidence, no witnesses, and no body. Sound impossible? That's what her defense team argued. But the prosecution insisted they had enough circumstantial evidence to prove she had killed her business partner in cold blood. The case shocked the nation. But here's the twist: the case wasn't just about a missing person. It was about the growing reach of one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world, Tren de Aragua. Lena Vasquez was a rising star in the Denver real estate market. Smart, ambitious, and fearless, she had built a successful business from the ground up. But in late 2023, she vanished. No goodbye. No signs of struggle. Just gone. Her business partner, Claudia Ramirez, was the last person to see her. The two had been arguing over a high-profile deal, one that Claudia allegedly wanted to back out of. When Lena disappeared days later, suspicion immediately fell on Claudia. Police found Lena's car abandoned near a construction site. Her phone was inside. But no blood, no fingerprints, nothing to indicate foul play. That's when detectives uncovered something chilling. Lena had confided in a friend that she was scared. She believed she was being followed. At first, detectives focused on Claudia. They built a case around motive, a business dispute turned deadly. But as they dug deeper, something didn't add up. Lena had no known enemies. No criminal ties. So why would she think someone was watching her? That's when a former gang member came forward with a shocking claim. He told investigators that Tren de Aragua, the brutal Venezuelan gang that had infiltrated multiple U.S. states, had been keeping tabs on Lena. Why? Because she had unknowingly purchased property linked to their operations. Despite the gang connection, prosecutors pressed forward with their case against Claudia. They claimed she killed Lena, disposed of her body, and staged the disappearance to throw off police. There was no physical evidence. No confession. Only circumstantial proof, a heated argument, financial records showing tension between them, and Lena's sudden disappearance. The jury deliberated for 12 hours before delivering a guilty verdict. Life in prison. No chance of parole. But the story doesn't end there. 1 month after Claudia was sentenced, a chilling message appeared on an encrypted chat room used by Tren de Aragua members. She was never yours to find. Along with the message was a blurry image. A woman, blindfolded. Bruised. Holding a newspaper dated 3 days earlier. It was Lena Vasquez. Alive. The FBI thought they had time. They were wrong. 4 months, agents had been tracking the rise of the Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang that had spread its operations like wildfire across the U.S. Initially dismissed as a disorganized group of ex-prisoners, it soon became clear this was something far more sinister. These weren't just common criminals. They were a well-oiled machine with military-style operations and an unwavering loyalty forged in the brutal depths of South American prisons. And now, they were here. The case exploded when 21-year-old nursing student Laken Riley was found murdered in Georgia, her death linked to gang member Jose Araba. His arrest was supposed to send a message, but it did the opposite. It was a challenge, one that the gang was more than willing to accept. 2 weeks after Araba's conviction, a fisherman near the Hudson River made a grisly discovery. A duffel bag, half submerged, its contents spilling into the water. Inside, authorities found the dismembered remains of a man who had been tortured before his death. His fingers were missing, likely a precaution to prevent identification. But the killers had made a mistake. Tucked inside the bag, wrapped in plastic, was a small, blood-stained piece of paper. A name. Agent Mark Hollister. The FBI was now on notice. The Tren de Aragua wasn't just expanding. By the time local police connected a series of violent home invasions in Texas to the gang, it was too late. The criminals had already relocated, vanishing into the night, leaving behind nothing but bloodstains and shattered lives. The FBI was outmatched, and they knew it. That's when the unexpected happened. A defector. A former gang member, his face covered in bruises, walked into a Miami police station and asked for protection. His name? Raul Esteban. And he had one request: witness protection in exchange for information. What he revealed sent shockwaves through law enforcement. The gang had help. Powerful allies. U.S. officials who were protecting them from within. Esteban's information led to a shocking arrest: Detective Michael Carruthers, a respected narcotics officer in Texas. He had been leaking intel to the gang for years, tipping them off about impending raids, helping them evade capture, and even supplying them with weapons seized from other criminal operations. Carruthers' arrest sent ripples through the department. How many others were involved? How high did this go? The more they uncovered, the more disturbing the truth became. But then, just 48 hours after Carruthers was taken into custody, his body was found in his holding cell. A single gunshot wound. Execution style. The message was clear, no one was safe. And then came the final blow. At 3 a.m., a video was uploaded to an encrypted site used by the gang. The FBI intercepted it immediately. What they saw chilled them to their core. A bound and gagged man, his face blooded, barely conscious. The camera zoomed in. It was Raúl Esteban. A distorted voice spoke in Spanish. "We do not forgive. We do not forget. You think you are safe? You are wrong. There is no escape." Then, the screen went black. The safe house was no longer safe. Detective Ramirez pressed himself against the cold brick wall, heart pounding. He could hear the muffled voices inside, the low murmur of men speaking in rapid Spanish, the metallic click of a gun being loaded. It had taken months to track down this hideout, a supposed meeting point for the elusive leaders of Tren de Aragua's U.S. operations. But something had gone horribly wrong. They had been waiting for him. 12 hours earlier, Ramirez sat in a dimly lit office, sifting through crime scene photos. The expansion of Tren de Aragua into the United States had been swift and brutal. Bodies were turning up across multiple states, some with the gang's signature markings, others simply vanished without a trace. But the case took a turn when an informant, known only as Coyote, provided a name, Manuel Ortega. Ortega was a ghost, moving from city to city, always one step ahead. But Coyote had delivered a location, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Houston. A meeting was supposed to take place there. A chance to cripple the gang's network. Ramirez had mobilized a small team, ready to strike. Now, standing outside, he realized they had walked into a trap. A sudden sound, footsteps crunching on gravel. Ramirez turned just as his partner, Agent Carter, was grabbed from the shadows. A masked figure pressed a blade to her throat. "Drop your weapon," a voice growled. Ramirez hesitated. If he dropped his gun, they were both dead. But if he didn't? A single gunshot shattered the silence. Carter crumpled. Ramirez lunged, firing wildly as chaos erupted. The warehouse doors burst open, and figures spilled out, weapons drawn. Blood pounded in his ears. He dove behind a rusted-out car, chest heaving. Carter wasn't moving. A voice echoed through the night. "You really thought you could stop us?" Ramirez knew that voice. Manuel Ortega. The realization sent a chill down his spine. Ortega wasn't just another lieutenant in the gang. He was something much worse. And now, he had Ramirez exactly where he wanted him. Meanwhile, across the city, a man sat alone in a motel room, staring at a burner phone. The name Coyote was an alias he had lived with for years, but he had never been this close to the edge. He had given Ramirez Ortega's location, believing it would buy him his freedom from the gang. But he had underestimated Tren de Aragua. His phone buzzed. A text. 3 words. "We found you." The motel door creaked open. Coyote reached for the gun under his pillow, but it was already too late. Detective Ramirez's grip tightened around his pistol as the darkness of the warehouse seemed to close in around him. He could hear the footsteps drawing nearer, the murmur of voices growing louder. Carter was down, he had seen her fall, but he had no way of knowing if she was alive. And now, the man he had spent months chasing was standing just beyond the shadows. Manuel Ortega. "You look surprised, Detective." Ortega's voice carried through the empty space, thick with amusement. "Did you really think you could ambush us?" Ramirez's mind raced. If he responded, they'd pinpoint his location. If he stayed silent, they might assume he had already fled. But he wasn't leaving without Carter. A flickering light illuminated Ortega's face as he stepped forward. He was younger than Ramirez expected, his sharp features betraying none of the brutality he was known for. He held a gun loosely at his side, a cruel smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Come out, Detective. Let's talk." Ramirez felt the weight of his options. He could fire, but he was outnumbered. He could run, but there was nowhere to go. Then, before he could act, a new sound cut through the tension, the wail of distant sirens. Ortega's expression darkened. "You called backup." Ramirez hadn't. Someone else had tipped them off. But who? The gangsters reacted instantly, scattering toward the exits. Ramirez took the opening and lunged forward, grabbing Carter's motionless body and dragging her behind cover. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. Gunfire erupted outside. The police had arrived, but the gang was prepared. Ramirez could hear the engines of getaway cars roaring to life. Then, Ortega spoke again, this time, with an edge of fury. "You think this ends here?" he spat. "We're just getting started." He fired once, then disappeared into the chaos. Across the city, Coyote's world was unraveling. The motel door had swung open with a slow creak, revealing a figure in the dim light. A man in a dark suit, his presence calm but undeniably menacing. Not one of Ortega's street enforcers, this was someone higher up. "Going somewhere?" the man asked, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Coyote forced himself to stay still. His gun was still within reach under the pillow, but something told him it wouldn't matter. "You made a mistake," the man continued. "Did you think giving up Ortega would save you?" Coyote swallowed hard. He had been careful. He had used an untraceable phone. But somehow, they had found him. The man reached into his pocket and tossed something onto the motel bed. A photograph. Coyote's stomach dropped. It was his sister. Tied to a chair. Eyes wide with terror. "You still have a chance," the man said. "Fix your mistake. Find Ramirez. Kill him." Coyote's blood ran cold.